Hi, this is Cheryl Long. I'm the editor-in-chief of Mother Earth News, and we're here in my garden in Kansas, Zone 6, and it's late November. And as you can see, we have a lot of green stuff growing here, cover crops that are doing really well. But today I want to talk mostly about how to build garden beds and how to do it without spending a lot of money. These beds, as you can see, are slightly raised, and you read a lot about, raised garden beds are great. In my opinion, you don't really need to raise your garden beds, and in fact, in many climates with hot summers, a raised bed is going to be harder to keep watered. In fact, in the Southwest, sometimes they use sunken beds to keep the wind off and to keep the moisture, protect the moisture in the soil a little bit more. These beds are framed, but as you can see, only lightly. These are recycled cedar fence rails from my neighbor, and I'm pretty certain that if you go to any fence company in your area and talk to them, they're probably taking out a fence like this somewhere sometime soon, and you could probably get the rails you needed for no money. These have worked really beautifully for me for about 10 years. They're not even rotting much. Cedar's so resistant to rot, and all I did was just laid them down basically. And if you're starting a new garden, my suggestion would be, you can dig it. It's a fair bit of work, but you do a little bit every day. You can dig the beds. But if you're in a little bit of a hurry, or you don't really want to do that much physical work, you could use a rototiller. If you're starting with sod, you should start with a pretty heavy-duty tiller. You can rent one or buy one, or you can have somebody come in. There are people in most communities who, for a fee, will come in and do a really nice job with a big, strong rototiller. So you till the sod, and then you rake away the roots and anything that didn't get broken up really well. And so then you have this nice area of loose soil. So to build your beds, what you want is not so much to raise the beds, but you do want dedicated beds. You want permanent areas where you're going to grow, and you want other areas where you're going to walk, because when you walk, you compact the soil. So, okay, you've tilled your area, you've decided where you want your beds. I really recommend paths at least a foot wide, maybe a little wider, and a few paths even wider to bring your garden cart in and out. So when you design your garden, keep that in mind. Stake out your beds, then take your rake and just rake the loose soil from where you want the paths over into the areas you've marked out for your beds. And when you're finished, you'll have very slightly raised beds, all laid out and ready to go. Another low-cost alternative to the recycled cedar rails would be logs, just like 4-inch or so diameter logs. Maybe you have a place you could cut them on your property, or you could contact a firewood company and ask if they'd bring you some longer sections. And that's what you see over here. These are just 4-inch diameter logs that I cut on my property and laid down, and then again raised the bed slightly by just raking in some loose soil from the surrounding paths. It is true that although beds made out of lumber look really nice, they're very sharp looking, but they are expensive. But another way to get that sort of aesthetic effect, if you want it, is to use a really nice mulch or a light colored mulch that contrasts with your beds. As you can see here, this is alfalfa hay that I actually bought at the end of the season, and the farm store gave it to me at half price because it was kind of old. The animals prefer it fresh, and they didn't really want to carry it through the winter, so I got it at half price. And as you can see, once it's down, it makes a really nice contrast with the beds and really makes them look quite sharp. Okay, one of our favorite tips for people who want to really get going fast in the spring and they don't have time to rent a tiller or do their own digging or whatever, is to go to the hardware store or the big box store and buy a dozen or so bags of topsoil. And those bags, of course, will be roughly 2.5 feet long by 1.5 feet wide. So you take those bags home, you lay them down right where you want your bed to be, and you get your scissors out and you just cut the tops off of them. Leave the edges so the soil stays in place, and just cut the tops off. Take a big long knife and stab down in there and punch a bunch of drain holes through to the plastic that's on the bottom, and you're ready to plant. Now, that growing area won't give you as good a results with large plants and like tomatoes probably as if you did more preparation. But it'll do really well for lettuce and beans, and I'm sure some people do fine with tomatoes. You just might not want to put more than one tomato in each bag. We've gotten a lot of reports from readers that this has worked really well for them. So when you're making these instant beds with the bags of topsoil, if you get some cardboard or some sheets of newspaper and lay that down everywhere that you want your paths to be before you lay your bags down, and then you get some straw or grass clippings, make great mulch, or even shredded leaves, and then you mulch that cardboard where your paths are going to be, and then you put the mulch up around the edges of where the plastic is showing on the bags. You'll have a very sweet little garden in half a day's time. That's it. It doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be a lot of labor all at one time. So thanks for listening today. I hope that these tips on how to start new garden beds were helpful. We have lots more information on our website, 43 years worth of advice and information on not just gardening, but renewable energy and cooking with local foods and all kinds of other topics. MotherEarthNews.com. Hope you'll check it out. This is Cheryl Long, Editor-in-Chief for Mother Earth News Magazine.